It is Friday, August 19th, 2022. This is another edition of Baseball Today, presented to you by our friends over at DraftKings. I am Chris Rose, and filling in for the traveling Trevor Plouffe. We had him on this show before. You know him as the voice of the Chicago White Sox, as the voice of Peacock, and next year you will be seeing him on Fox. Hello, Jason Benetti. You're getting more jobs than me. I'm getting jealous.
Well, look, you inspired me when I was a kid. Like I watched Best Damn Sports Show, period. I think you were on Sports Geniuses probably at some point on Fox Sports Net. So many other things. So yeah, you were my inspiration.
Congratulations on the Fox deal. When does that get going next year?
Yeah, so I'm starting college football in about a week and a half. Actually, we're doing Nebraska. Yeah, we're doing Nebraska Northwestern next Saturday. And then getting rolling. So Brock Heward and I will be doing football together on Fox, and I'm pumped.
Are you a college football connoisseur from your Syracuse days?
Yeah, I mean, so I grew up loving Big Ten football and watching like the Drew Brees, Joe Tiller, Purdue teams, and the
Nice.
Steve Schnurr, Darnell Autry, Northwestern Rose Bowl. I mean, right? Like if you want 30-year-old Big Ten football references, you done come to the right place, Chris Rose.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. That'll be a really good tandem. I look forward to listening to that on my television or wherever I stream Fox Sports.
Hey, thank you. I am sad though that I'm not going to be able to do Peacock next year because this format, as you know, like we were talking about it last time, this format's killer, and they're going to keep it going next year, in my understanding, with the same thing with like one analyst from each team.
Good.
And I just the amount I've learned about baseball from people that I never would have gotten to do a game with, and the amount that we've had fun and camaraderie, like I've made some really good friends for a long time, I think, and it's been NBC killed it. They really did. Like it's a really smart format.
I'm with you. I'm a big fan of it. A big fan of yours, and I'm really happy you get the opportunity. I've still got a lot of good friends over there at Fox Sports. You might even run into one or two of them who probably speak very lowly of me. So
I'm gonna have a name tag that says, "Hello, my name is Chris Rose's friend."
Yes. Yeah, that'll get you not even up to the second floor in that building anymore. They will escort you out quickly. Just want to let you know. Be prepared. It's great to have you here on Baseball Today. We always love your insight and your knowledge from just a different lens. Before we get going with the big World Series rematch, I just want to give some credit to the kid, Vaughn Grissom, who made an amazing play. I don't know if you were able to see it last night as he scores from first on a single.
Well, when you see the camera shot from high home, from above home plate, and the ball's trickling through, he is like full bore coming to second base. And it's like, wow, there is something to the idea that you call up a guy from AAA, whether it's Vaughn Grissom or Brett Beatty or whomever it is, right? You call up a guy and you see the different level of want to. It's not like the other guys don't want to be there, but I did 10 years of radio in the minors. I know what it's like to feel like you're in a rut. I've seen it with minor league players. When they get the chance to go to the big leagues, there is an extra give there. There's an extra ceiling that they're going to find. And I think it's a really smart idea to have young talent on your playoff-bound team.
Yep. I'm with you. I thought it was a remarkable play. It allowed the Braves to take 3 of 4, made the NL East that much more interesting. And who knows, it could come down to that final week when those two teams tango, and there's going to be a lot on the line because the difference between the 2 and the 4 seed, as we all know, heading into this year's playoffs is going to be enormous. But Atlanta's got to take care of business at home once again against the team they disposed of to win the 2021 World Series. So this is a fun little series. Astros, Braves. At this point, which team do you feel more confidence in will return to the Fall Classic?
Yeah, I've seen them both in person. And I think the Astros, just because of the path, like I think they're comparable teams. I think the Braves are really, really good. There's nothing against the Braves, but because of the path and because the Yankees are not playing their best baseball right now, and the Dodgers are this Terminator-like machine that seems like it's not going to lose in the playoffs, and the Mets are so good. I just think the Astros have a clearer path to the World Series. And so that's why I would pick the Astros. I do think it's a little bit deeper of a lineup. The Ozuna news obviously is terrible. But I think the Astros lineup is so deep. They get Lance McCullers back. They're going to have to decide who they want to pitch in the postseason. And I know the Braves have some questions too, and some depth, but I do think the Astros are a little bit better of a team.
The McCullers deal is huge to me. He is great when the light shines brightest. I mean, he is just Plouffe hates this word, the swag. I even call it borderline asshole, but I think in a positive way. You know, I really think that those guys feed off of that and everything he brings to the table when he's out there on the mound. I mean, you got to see him up close last year in the playoffs, I believe, right? You were okay against the White Sox. That was the last game he had pitched, I believe.
Yeah, it was a no contest. I mean, like when you put him in a scenario that is something on the line, he's like Lance Lynn for me. Like Lance Lynn has a 5.5 and he's pitching today for the White Sox. But you want that dude on the mound because of how competitive he is. There's a bulldog in there, that whole thing, whatever you want to call it. He gives you extra competitively, and the breaking ball is fantastic. So yeah, I think that's big for them.
And I also think you made the appropriate point, which is the path. If I'm the Astros, the only team I'm not even scared of because of what the playoff history has been between the two squads, but it's the Yankees, right? They match up. Could be a great 7-game series if they see each other in the ALCS. In the National League, the Braves have to deal with the Dodgers. They have to deal with the Mets. And one of those other teams could pop. You just never know. Milwaukee, if they get their shit together in the batter's box, like that's a big three that you don't want to be a part of in a short series. So I know there's no hater at the back end, but still having to face those guys, if they're all on in a series, you're all of a sudden you're looking at each other. You're like, our season's over.
Yeah. How? I also think Cardinal Devil Magic might still exist. The Jordan Montgomery, Jose Quintana starts so far. I mean, they're still scary to me. Like I think the Cardinals have Albert Pujols' OPS against lefties is like 1100. Unreal. Like I met with Ollie Marmol for like 15 minutes for one of those Peacock games. I'm so impressed with how different he is as a manager. I mean, it's basically like a corporation he's running over there, but he's got employees who really buy in and really like him. That's a good clubhouse. I'm worried about the Cardinals if I'm the Braves / Dodgers.
That's a good one. I brought it up the other day, and some people were like, "What are you talking about?" It's like a 98-year-old Adam Wainwright, Miles Michaelis. I was like, okay, just saying. It's all about matchups.
Nolan Gorman, like there's young talent there that can hit. I think they have this group that when they get on the big stage, they might be better as a collective.
Good call. Hey, dust him off. Look who's expected to be back in the lineup on Friday for the Angels. Mike Trout. We haven't seen him since July 12th. He's had this ridiculous back issue that sounds like it'll bother him the rest of his career. Scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you to see the 3-time AL MVP back on the diamond?
It's a 10 because then the Angels once again are America's most watchable, terrible team. Every year.
How they promote themselves on the scoreboard?
Yeah, pretty much. They kept Ohtani for a reason, and it's got to be that they're America's most watchable, terrible team. They are so talented and so interesting at the top level. And like if Anthony Rendon was healthy, and I know we're going to say that until 2036, but it's a very complicated situation they have there. I don't know that if they said, say they traded Ohtani at the deadline here and they said, you know what, this core is not working. I don't know that they'd ever figure it out again. Like, I still think Trout and Ohtani might be their best shot for a long while because it just seems dysfunctional.
I would say it's probably, God, I have a hard time with this one because I love Trout. I'm not going to turn it on.
You're not?
Just to see. I mean, well, first of all, I'll be at the Guardians White Sox game and I'll be giving you a shout out today. I'll see you. Yay. But if I were home, I guess I would check out his at bat, his first at bat, just to see how he is physically. But to me, now that's where I am with him. Like, I just want him to get through okay. I want to wrap him in bubble wrap every time I see him. And that's such a terrible place to be as a fan of a guy because you won't find a bigger Trout dude. Like, I love him. I love everything about him. I love the way he plays the game, every aspect of it. And it just pisses me off that the best player in the game has 13 postseason at bats. That's what ticks me off. And now I'm like, Mike, just be okay. Isn't that a terrible place to be?
No, it is, but that's the lay of the land here. I mean, I'm always very cautious of getting bored by repetitive greatness because, like, I grew up in the Jordan Bulls era in Chicago, and I would turn on the game to see him do what he did, even though I knew they were going to win. And I just wonder what it's like to turn on a game to see what a guy does, Ohtani or Trout, as a fan, and expect they're going to lose. Like, that just doesn't compute for me because I grew up with a team that was the best team in basketball because they had the best player in basketball. So it's kind of nonsense to me to watch the Angels, especially with some of the other talent they have too. I'm going to watch it because I feel like you're supposed to watch that. Like, it's not obligation per se, but it's because he does stuff that other people don't do.
Do you think, all right, I'm going to give you the one, both, or neither scenario. Gets traded in the offseason. I know that Trout has the strict no trade clause, but I wonder if behind closed doors, he's not saying, hey, guys, like, I'm 31. I got to go. What do you think? One, both, or neither? He and Ohtani.
I think if his influence is what I think it is, just because of his stardom, I think it's neither. But I think people will say it should be one or both. I think if they weren't going to go get max value for Ohtani in the offseason, I think they would have done it at the deadline here. I'm sure there were deals rolling in. I think a lot of people can argue it's a very strong argument that they should have. But I also think the stadium would have been empty if they traded Ohtani. So at some point, it's
already empty.
Well, I know, but there's pockets of people who come for Ohtani. Like, once every 6 days, he pitches. And so, like, you want that. So I think they're stuck. I also don't know that they have like a very direct strategy. The Joe Madden thing still is odd to me because it wasn't Joe Madden's fault that Mike Trout went into a slump. Like, I still think Joe Madden is a very good baseball manager. It's nothing against Phil Nevin. Like, I think Phil's a good guy and can handle it too. But like, I think it was that Spider-Man gif where everybody's pointing at everybody.
Wait, are you saying what was strange was that a 68-year-old man mohawked himself and then didn't get a chance to show it off to his team?
I mean, isn't that the greatest story of the year? That is like, well, I love when motivational tactic becomes just leftover thing you have to deal with personally.
I still have never seen the photo of him with the mohawk. I would love to have seen that because I'm a Madden guy. I've always enjoyed my conversations with him. I know some people it drives nuts, but I love it. I'm a big fan. By the way, one other Trout nugget, 967 OPS, but he's on pace to have the worst batting average of his career, which I know batting average isn't what it once was, but just wanted to throw that out there. So there you go.
Would you, if offered at a fast food restaurant, would you have a 12-piece Trout nugget?
Yeah, I might even like supersize that thing if I could. I'm going up to 20 if we got it.
You just said one Trout nugget, and I was like, that's an interesting order, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a whole bunch of them. You know, I'll pile it in. I'll keep piling my Trout nuggets as they become available, which means hopefully he'll still be playing come Monday. We'll see.
Prices and participation may vary.
Can you do that again in your like a true announcer voice?
Prices and participation may vary. Trout nuggets.
Wait a second. Is this during a Sports Center ad?
Brought to you by Trout Nuggets.
You're good. I don't ever get this with Blue. White Sox are in my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio tonight to start a series with the first place Guardians. They have a game lead over Minnesota, 2.5 over Chicago. I know this is putting you on the spot, but any of these three teams feel like they could spoil a Yankees Astros ALCS?
Here's the crazy thing, and I am happy to answer truthfully here. I think the answer is the White Sox. I think the White Sox high-end talent and starting pitching. I mean, over the last 3.5 weeks, the starting pitching has an ERA right around 3, even with what happened with Giolito yesterday. So I feel like the Sox starting pitching, rejuvenated Johnny Cueto, possible Cy Young, Dylan Cease outside of the Verlander category, and Michael Kopech, Lance Lynn, Giolito. Plus the offense, if they start hitting home runs, is a comparable power offense as compared to like Cleveland, who's not going to compete with the Astros or Yankees in the power department at all. They're just not built for that. But the White Sox really should be. So I do feel like if the White Sox made the postseason with their combination of pitching and possible power, I know the Twins have the best actual power of those three. I think the White Sox are the team that would give them the most trouble, in part because they played the Yankees tough this year. They just split with the Astros. The White Sox have actually been better against good teams than they have been bad teams.
I would agree with you. My little Cleveland Indians, who are not only the youngest team in baseball, but have an average age that's younger than any average AAA roster. The thing they do better than any team in baseball, I feel like, is foul off pitches, put the ball in play. And that gets progressively harder when teams are game planning for you for a 5 or 7 game series, or even a 3 game series, which is what they would have to start out with. So I don't listen. I would love to see the Guardians win a division and go on a run. I think it's going to be a real challenge. Minnesota, if they win the division and somehow win a series, and then they look at the Yankees in round 2, I mean, are you kidding me? They see pinstripes, they have to immediately speed dial their therapists. They don't know what to do, and so they're going to that's out. I would agree with you that the White Sox, but we've been saying it all season long. Like every 2 weeks, Plouffe and I look at each other. We're like, is this the week the White Sox get going? We looked at the schedule right out of the break, and we're like, all right, if they're not up 4 games on the rest of the division by the first 6 or 7 series, something's wrong. And here they are, and they're out 2.5.
But then you look at the schedule again, and you see Kansas City, Arizona, Oakland, Detroit for 2 series in September, and there's another one of those pockets. I'm with you. It's been totally maddening. I said it on our telecast the other night when they beat the Astros. I said, in a maddening season, the place flipped again. Like everybody was behind them, and then they lost 2 in a row, and one was 21-5. Like they gave up 3 touchdowns to the Texans. And so you have one of these scenarios where you're like waiting for it to happen, and it just might, because the Twins seem to not want to grab it. And the Guardians are a really solid team who doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but they're not going to power hit their way into a run late. Now, the thing is, they do have 17 of 23 at home to close the year. So that's a huge pocket of home games.
I know. It's weird. This team plays better on the road, and I can't figure it out. And for a young team, you're like, God, I don't know, man. They're going into some weird environments.
But I do think if Cleveland, if they get to September 15th, I think the fans are going to show up. I think it's going to turn.
I hope so. I hope you're right. I don't know. They do support them. They support them visually more than in person, meaning they'll watch a lot of their games on TV. And I think that's where the draw is. I'll be curious to see what it is tonight. Tonight's dollar dog night, by the way. So if you see me sitting in my seats and you guys take a shot of Rose and his son, Brady, I love it how I just call myself in the third person, and I have like 6 or 7 hot dogs, don't be like, oh my God, why is that dad bod dude doing that to himself? It's because I wanted to only spend $6 or $7.
So the only thing that I would ask then, if you could just text me your seat location.
I'll let you know. I'll give you a holler on that one.
That'd be great.
Okay, we got a couple of great stories going these days in the wild card races, but let's focus on the American League. Mariners, who haven't been to the postseason party since 2001, hold the top wild card spot as we speak. Baltimore, though, 2.5 out. Not bad. Which story will be better to follow down the stretch?
Baltimore. I don't think it's close, actually. I know Seattle. I know Seattle is playoff starved and everything that goes along with it. I love teams that are ahead of what they expected. The Orioles got forced into this amazing decision to go for it or not go for it. They decided to sell off a couple relievers and Trey Mancini, and they're still in it. I mean, there's a reason Major League was such a good movie. publicly because it's a compelling story to have a team fighting against the odds and against the push of management, even like, we're going to do this later. No, we're going to do this now. Like, I just wrote the big scene, the culminating scene.
You did.
Right. Like, I just wrote that for you. So you're welcome, Sorkin. But my deal is, I think the Orioles being in it is totally ridiculous. We had a graphic a couple weeks ago. It took them to get to like win number 40 until something like September, right? Like, they were months ahead of their pace recently. That's a city to me that loves baseball. When Camden Yards was rocking, it was awesome. I love the idea that the Orioles are in it despite everything that the Orioles tried to do this year. And I'm not saying it was even a bad decision, but this team refuses to be a footnote. And I love that like collective spirit that they have. And Adley Rutschman is a big part of that. It's not eyewash when he goes to run out to the mound and like congratulate his pitcher. It's real. That's really who he is. I mean, we've talked about it. I love that ballpark. I love the fan base because the diehards are going to be like, see, we were right. And they shouldn't have been.
I feel like Seattle is such a forgotten sports city, though.
Because the Mariners are never in the playoffs. They've made themselves forgotten.
Jason, we went last year down to the final weekend, and that joint was rocking. That place was packed. It is a for people that have never been up to Seattle, it is a wonderful city. Everybody complains about the rain, but it is a fantastic city. It's a really good sports town. And listen, they just traded their freaking quarterback so that Drew Lock could be their starting QB. I mean, really, let's help these people. Let's help them. I know it hasn't been that long for Baltimore. I know they've had some shit years, like 3 straight full seasons of at least 108 losses. That is hard. 100's rough. 108 is like ridiculous. So I get that. But man, Seattle, let's go. Let's do something.
Seattle is, I agree with you, wonderful city. And if you've been to a Seahawks game, you think, oh, if the Mariners could have that atmosphere, terrifying. So I love Seattle and I love the Mariners. They're like lovable in that way. I just think the Orioles giving up what they gave up, like, and still being in it, I just think that's a little more compelling. That's all.
I get it. All right, last thing. It is, I mean, talk about a baseball video that went viral. David Vassegh, who does a lot of Dodger work on the radio. He's been out there for years. He's an LA kid and a really nice guy. Ended up, while they were in Milwaukee, going down Bernie Brewer's slide. He broke 2 bones in his wrist and he cracked 6 ribs in the process. Do you A, feel bad for David, or B, dude got exactly what he deserved?
I mean, we are having one of those, like, you remember the woman who was stomping on the grapes and then fell off the...
that video?
Owie, ow, ow, ooh, ow, ooh, ow, ow, ooh. That. Yeah, that. That's the first thing I thought when I saw him grab for his ribs. But like, this is what happens when stuff goes wrong, but you have to commit to the bit. So I am sad for him that he's going to be dealing with that for a while. But man, oh man, if the idea is to be famous, hey, congratulations, buddy.
The best part of the woman stomping the grape story, I think it happened in Atlanta on one of those morning shows. It was almost like a Saturday Night Live skit because they cut back to the 2 hosts in the studio and they're like, ooh, oh gosh. Oh, I hope she's okay. It was like an SNL skit.
Oh, it was fantastic. What do we know? Do we know what? There it is. Yes.
Hold on, Robbie. Yes. Robbie, play this sound full. Let's go.
I can't breathe. Stop. Oh no. Oh
boy,
dear.
I think she's actually hurt.
No, I think she is.
Yeah, she's hurt. She took a...
Great job, Rob. Oh God, I forgot about that bit. Best one ever, right?
In the middle of it, she says, stop. Like somebody could stop the pain.
Oh, I can't breathe.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't get that out of SA. Oh, Dave, I can't wait to see you out at Dodger Stadium again.
I've not met Dave, but I want to know what went wrong. Like, I want the oral history on this. Like, why does Bernie not show up with like a rib cage injury?
Because he's in a freaking mascot outfit and he's got padding. He's oversized head. I don't know what it is.
I see now.
All right. So obviously this weekend, I think your Peacock game is the White Sox Guardians, is it not?
It is. White Sox Guardians, Peacock, Steve Stone, Rick Manning, Jason Benetti, our entire wonderful crew. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Latest episode of the Rose Rotation is out with Stephen Brault of the Chicago Cubs. He's hilarious as always. Check it out. And then Monday, I believe we're going to have Austin Hedges, who I'm supposed to interview on Saturday while I'm in town. We'll see if that comes to fruition, but we'll certainly let you know. Jason, as always, it is a pleasure having you on the show. People love your insight, your humorous tones, and everything else. In fact, you brought back the great grape stomping episode. So we are forever indebted to you here on Baseball Today. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Chris. And I hope to get a DM from Trevor thanking me for not calling him the ever dangerous Trevor Plouffe this time.
But by the way, he gave it. He was mad last time. He was like, I loved it at the beginning. And then he goes, wow, that was actually a shot at me. I was like, yeah, that's why it was perfect.
But I mean, it was like hey, he did great against us thing.
Yeah. He didn't see it that way. He never does.
I know. He sent me an angry gram.
Good. That means you've made it on his shit list, which is a perfect place to sit. Special shout out to our producer extraordinaire, the one and only Robbie Scirocco. That is Jason Benetti. I am Chris Rose. We will see you Monday on Baseball Today.